So recently, over the past, I'd say, couple of weeks, I have been very deep into the world of S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly. I've known about this game for some time now, and I've played it very little, maybe about a year ago. But this year, I wanted to sit down, take some time, and really get into the game. For those of you who may not know, S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly is a standalone game in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R franchise. I'll have a link to the mod DB page in case you're curious and want to check it out for yourself. Now, I have no knowledge of prior games, the world, the lore, any of it. I'm brand new to it. Just know that you're in what's called the zone, and you need to fight mutants, other factions, and do your best to survive and thrive in this world. And man, have I quickly become very addicted to this game. Now, I should mention this probably sooner rather than later. I'm playing a very modded version of S.T.A.L.K.E.R Anomaly called Escape from Pripyat, or EFP for short. This basically adds more weapons and functions to the game that make it closer to something like Escape from Tarkov, which you can tell just by the name alone. There is another recent mod pack called S.T.A.L.K.E.R Gamma, and while that one is very interesting, I figured as a first-time player, EFP made a little bit more sense for what I was looking to get out of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. EFP focuses more on gunplay and the action while you're in the zone, and Gamma is more so about scavenging, looting, and crafting your gear because most of it is inaccessible from any of the vendors in the game. The first thing about S.T.A.L.K.E.R that initially enticed me to even try it in the first place was the variety of weapons and locations that were scattered throughout the in-game map. It has a similar vibe to something like DayZ, where when you start, you're usually in the southern parts of the map, and you progress through the game, you head up north. The further north you go, the more difficult challenges you'll encounter, but the better loot you find. It's very similar to DayZ in that way, because looting in S.T.A.L.K.E.R is very important to your success, whether that's finding stashes hidden throughout the world or just looting those that you kill. When you make a new character, you can select what faction you want to be a part of, and that alone affects your starting gear, as well as the relations you have with other factions in the game. I went with the Loner faction because everyone says if you're new, it's a great first playthrough, but there's tons of options to choose from. I do, at some point, really want to try it being Monolith because their faction hates literally everybody except their own, and I think that's incredibly interesting. And I think the best thing about this, or any of the mod packs you can download, is that they're insane level of modularity. You can modify everything in the game, and when I say everything, I really mean everything, from how quickly your skills level up, to the difficulty and number of enemies you'll encounter, to the rewards you get for completing quests, the vendors and what they sell, how much things they buy for, how much you get from selling. It's kind of overwhelming how much control you actually have over your own experience, but it's something I've really come to appreciate as I've been making slight adjustments to facilitate my wants for the S.T.A.L.K.E.R experience. For example, I have a lot of weapons that are really low durability, and therefore, under normal circumstances, most vendors won't even take them. I went into the settings and made it so that they can take them, even if it's only for a couple thousand rubles at best. At least now, guns have more value to me, even if they're beaten up and broken, so I want to grab them, store them, and sell them as I need them. So you have complete control over the pacing of the game, how you progress, and what's available to you and how quickly it is. But the game itself is also incredibly interesting, if not a little frustrating at times. S.T.A.L.K.E.R at its core is a fairly standard FPS game with looting elements while also having healing and food mechanics on top of that. In addition, there's also plenty of environmental hazards you need to be aware of that are called anomalies. Anything from just radiation spots to electricity on the ground to whirlwind tornadoes that'll throw you around if you aren't careful. There are a lot of things you need to watch out for when you're just walking around, which all want to kill you pretty much instantly. However, what EFP brings to the table are some Tarkov elements to the game, having to manage magazines and loading them, instead of just having ammo on you and being able to reload as you please, an adjusted healing and limb system where, again, very much like Tarkov, losing limbs affects your ability to walk, aim, shoot, and your overall health and your character. When you start out, you basically have nothing, and you really need to work for your gear. It's definitely a kind of come-up story, but I think for S.T.A.L.K.E.R it should always be this way. Starting with nothing and working your way up slowly, fighting bandits and different factions to scrounge for any gear you can get and keep you going on ahead. Luckily, I got very lucky early game with an SVD off of a bandit, and that gun carried my ass through the first handful of hours. and now I'm easily over 25 hours, and I've done maybe 2 of the main quests for like the game's story. It's wild how sidetracked you can get and go down rabbit holes for just doing tasks for vendors, traveling from one side of the map, killing and looting, all the way to the other, helping stalkers out, asking them for quests. The furthest north I've made is to a place called the military warehouse. I haven't even tried to go further north because it's been such a struggle when I'm up there, like fighting other mercenaries and Monolith especially. So I've spent a lot of time in the south trying to make money and upgrading my gear as much as I possibly can before I venture north again and seeing what happens. But that's the thing. Even though I'm walking around in what feels like circles because I keep going to the same places over and over again, I've just been enjoying it so much. Anomaly has been such a blast to just get sucked into, getting lost and just walking around the different areas of the game and just seeing what it's about. I haven't had this experience with a single player game really since Elden Ring came out last year, but this takes me back to playing older Bethesda games like Fallout 3 and especially Skyrim, where it's very obvious where I need to go and what I need to do, but I kind of forgo all of that and just do a ton of side content in the game to get stronger and just to experience the world I'm in. S.T.A.L.K.E.R's world isn't anything nice either. It's very depressing, dark, dreadful, everything wants to kill you. But finding a camp or a base where other stalkers have come to reside, talking to them and seeing what they have to sell or if they have anything they want done, kind of like a we're all in this together mentality. Even though you will watch countless factions fight one another and just slaughter each other for whatever scraps they have on them, each factions have their own lore and goals, and while again, I personally don't know anything about it right now, having each faction have their own reasons for what they do is always cool and really appreciated. I hope I really get to continue to get sucked into this game because I think, like Tarkov, it's an open sandbox for some really interesting storytelling and especially for making entertaining videos. It feels like such a perfect fit. So another reason why I wanted to play the game was the potential to make some cool stuff with it. Expect future videos about S.T.A.L.K.E.R in the future. About what? I'm not really entirely sure. I want to get further into the game, get some better gear, and figure out down the line. But for anyone who's even remotely interested in what I've said or watched, I highly recommend trying out the base version of Anomaly at least. It's very easy to set up, and there are tons of tutorials out there to assist you if you have any troubles. I went straight in with a mod pack because I had a very specific vision in my head that I wanted to try and capture. Even though it honestly took me like 5 hours to set up because I'm stupid, I'd say it was really worth it in the end. This game's awesome, and I look forward to trying other mod packs, factions, other playthroughs, and whatever else this game has to offer. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know in the comments if you're a veteran of the series or new like me, and be sure to subscribe for more videos about the zone and the kinds of stories I would like to tell down the line. I hope to see you in future ones.